nuts or walnuts or anything, he's going to die. I mean, and that was exactly his exact words, he's going to die. I mean, and that just hit me like a brick wall. Because my child could die.
So it was so violent. I mean, that reaction.
Oh, everything happened so fast. And I just sit back and I think, like, well, what if I were to wait on this phone? What could I mean?
Yeah.
I called the doctor and I'm sitting there waiting. I'm like, forget this. I just hung up the phone and took him in. And he said, the doctor also told me, the emergency room doctor also told me that I needed to, if anything like this ever happened again, that I would need to just dial 911, not even drive to the hospital, because we live in a small town, and from where I live to my hospital is at least 25 minutes. And I'm driving 25 minutes. That's 25 minutes of time that was taking more and more away from him. So you learn from that experience. Now, he has not had a reaction that severe since. He's had mild reactions as far as, when I say mild, I wouldn't say anything's really mild, but it has not gone into anaphylactic since. He's had, rashes from eating something that, we don't know what it was, or, we read labels, we do everything. Just, we don't have any peanuts in our house. We have no nuts of any type in our house. Nothing that may contain or anything manufactured. We keep all of that out of our house, and we have now for almost 7 years. We just don't want to take the chance. And we carried our EpiPens, and he just started school this year. So that was the big thing for us, because he was in a preschool, but the preschool setting was only 8 kids.
You're right.
More like a daycare, basically, but it was a preschool, and it was just small. So with 8 children, it was a whole lot easier to deal with when you're sending them in a public school setting where there's 75 kindergartners. So this was his first year at school, and that was a tough one for us to send him off and get everything going for him and get the school on board and try to get them to understand and feel comfortable sending them off to school, because that was something that I was over the top with anxiety over sending him off to school and having somebody care for him for 6-7 hours a day, and not knowing what's going on or how they're going to react or what's going to happen or how they were going to handle it. And so that was a tough one for us.
I think what's tough.
We made it for the first year.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry?
I think what's tough, and I've heard from other moms, is, having people understand the anxiety level of parents or moms or whoever's managing the anaphylaxis in their child, whoever's managing reading labels and getting them set up at school and all of that. But having people understand the anxiety level that goes along with having a child who potentially could die, if they ingest the wrong item or come into contact with it through skin contact or inhalation, depending on the severity or situation for them. But again, I'm going to ask both of you, we're kind of trying to wrap it up a little bit, but I want to speak to the viewers, and just if you guys could summarize sort of the feelings that you think of the day, and you just discussed it, Erica, most recently, but the day that you found out your child has this medical condition that most likely, in the case with Peanut, at least 2 out of 10 will not outgrow it, so it's most likely going to be a lifelong medical condition. So, and I would start by saying that I was in shock and in disbelief that this was going to be happening or was happening to my child. So can you guys just summarize in a few words, the feelings of, when you realized and got that diagnosis? And Amelia, you can go first.
Shock, definitely, because, like I said, you had egg reacted. Well, yeah, right now, wait till I come out there and we'll discuss it together, okay? So sweet.
We'll do maybe without giving names and ages, a child's. It would be cute to have the kids talk about what it's like, But definitely shock, you're saying, Amelia, and
yeah, it was shock and grief. I would definitely say just on the initial diagnosis of the egg allergy. And when we got the results from the rash about 2 weeks later, I relived all of it to the 100th degree. It really was it still is today, a grieving process. I think knowing that my child is not going to have the life that I had anticipated or would have ever wanted for him. And having to be extra vigilant and knowing that was something he was going to have to assume at some point for himself. I think the sense of loss was the biggest for me at that time. And then the more I learned and the more I heard, then the fear really kicked in.
And I definitely recommend for any parents out there, if you haven't read about Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief, that I think that really applies as well to getting a diagnosis of anaphylaxis in your child. So it talks about the different stages, and a couple of those are ones that you mentioned. And I also recommend that parents, ask for the test results on paper. They will mail them to you, instead of them just calling you and giving you the RAS results or whatever. They can mail those to you, and sometimes that helps. You put the kids to bed late at night, and you can actually see it on paper. It makes it more realistic and helps you sort of process some of those feelings to see it on paper. And also you can, show your partner or spouse, or you have it for their medical file. But Erica, do you want to mention a couple key feelings that you felt the day that you took your son, that you were racing him in?
The biggest part was, first off, was fear. I mean, it was probably the scariest thing I've ever had to deal with. And once I was diagnosed, and I'm having a doctor tell me that this could, kill my son, his exact words, kill. It was overwhelming. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid to have him be around anyone at that point, until I learned and helped, educated myself and, educated my family, which took a little extra time, but, it's probably hard for somebody not to understand it if they're not really dealing with it like somebody else is. But the fear alone and, I would say, yes, grief, the pain of knowing that just something so simple as food, something that we deal with every day, we eat every day. There's so many things that he can't have, but there's still a lot that he can. But it's just that there's going to be times when he's not going to be able to be a part of what other people can be a part of. And that, to me, that's the overwhelming feeling of having to explain to him and see the reactions that I get from him now at his age, knowing that, sorry, honey, you can't have this because it could have a penis, or sorry, honey, you can't have that because we don't know what's in it, or, and he's gotten to the point now where he'll just say, no, I don't want it, thank you, or, no, thank you. And I know you can just see by the sadness in his eyes that, yes, he does. He's got the fear also that he knows that he doesn't want to take something without knowing what's going to be in it, or something that's going to, potentially kill him, basically. So I would say, to sum it all up, I would have to say, yes, overwhelming grief and fear of it all is anxiety of it. It's just, put together, it just basically can be all so overwhelming. But once I learned to deal with it and figure out that I can handle this, it was better. And he can live a normal life. It's just the sadness of knowing that he, being a 6-year-old, doesn't understand it the way a parent can understand it, or an adult can understand it. And as a parent, we don't like to see our kids hurt, or have to see our children go through something that shouldn't have to be, basically.
Well, I want to thank both of you for sharing openly. Obviously, a lot of people are going to hear this. Hopefully it will help them, and I just want to thank you both for sharing with everybody. And
Thank you, Judy. Thank you,
yeah.
Judy.
And I want our listeners to follow us on Team Anaphylaxis on Facebook for future topics, one of which will be safety and inclusion, which Erica touched on a little bit, is finding that balance between, making sure your child's included in all the activities that their peers are in and making it safe so they can be included, because there's a way to do that, and it just requires a little bit of compassion on the part of the other people planning the event or hosting, whatever activity it is. So we'll have a segment on that as well. So thank you both.